Tell you what, I'll catch a walleye any way I can through the ice, but if I were to pick a favorite thing, to be finding walleyes in shallow water, you know, 4, 5, 6 feet of water, sometimes less. Just fun fishing. These fish are aggressive. So we're up here on Lake Irvin today, which, you know, if you fish Devil's Lake Basin a lot, you're familiar with Lake Irvin, Lake Alice, which is a wildlife refuge that opens up in the wintertime. And then you've got Mike's Lake, Chain Lake, Dry Lake. You've got this big expanse of water north of Highway 2. And it's pretty shallow. Out here in the middle, you know, it might only be 9 feet, 9.5, 10 feet at the most. And right now we're in 5 feet of water. And as a rule of thumb, you know, when you find them up shallow like this, when you mark them, they eat. And that's what's so cool about this. Oh, there he is. Oh, yeah. Look at the belly. That is just gorgeous.
Another prairie butterball.
Wow, gorgeous pike right there. There they showed up. Oh, there he is. Look at these fish. They are rushing up. There he is, there he is. Cannibalistic jumbos. Unbelievable.
The whole, it's a big one.
That is what we're talking about tonight, that cool looking fish.
Now you're dialed in.
Oh, that's fun. It's like that bonefish, you know what? Right back down to the bottom. Sure, one of the powerful freshwater fish that swims.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice walleye.
Jason Mitchell Outdoors is brought to you by Clam, SCHEELS, Vexilar, Ice Armor by Clam, K-Drill, Clam Pro Tackle, Ice Defense, Bismarck Motor Company, Crestliner, North Dakota Tourism, and Jason Mitchell Elite Series Fishing Rods.
Come on, eat it. Oh, there he is. Most called a tikka minnow. You know, obviously with the shallow water, you know, as you'd expect, you know, mornings and evenings are a lot of times the best, but especially you get gray days, overcast days, you know, these fish will bite all day. The lure that we're using, this is a classic horizontal glide bait. This is called the tikka minnow. And neat thing about this particular lure, it's a one-piece construction. It's got that zinc alloy bill. I believe that metal bill, just you get a little bit better horizontal movement. And a lot of times the jig stroke is just a hard pound. There's not much water underneath the ice. And so a lot of times I'm just pounding it hard, you know, in a 6-inch to maybe an 8-inch foot window. And that's what calls these fish in. This dingy, dirty water, you definitely have to fish where these fish can find you.
Here we go. Got one coming in. Come on, come on, come on.
There we go.
Bad one? Clam rattling blade spoon, just a killer. So this early ice season on these Dakota Prairie lakes, these dish bowl lakes, I really like to focus on that shoreline structure. That first initial break off the shoreline, these fish will run along that break like highways and they'll push bait up against that shoreline, pin it there. So where I started this morning, started off the end of the shore and just worked my way up this shoreline. And those fish are using that wedge, it acts like a buffer. They just push that bait right up against there and they feed. So you're just catching them as they're cruising up and down.
Oh, there he is. Look at that. Oh. There we go.
What I come to this lake for.
You know, the biggest thing you're going to notice about these lakes is just a lack of structure. You look across the middle of these lakes, it's just flat as a pancake. and then you'll see a little bit of contour on the old shoreline. And so finding walleyes on this particular type of water is all about finding these edges. And so you really have to be diligent. You have to drill holes until you get a little bit of a jump. You can drill holes and be 8 feet forever, and then you get a little bit of a jump where it says 7, 6, 5 feet. Right on that edge, that's where you need to be. And so drill holes to fine tune and get on that edge. Oh, I got one down there. There we go. These are just great eating size fish. Kind of a deal where you come out here early in the year like this and just get your fix. I tell you what, there's a common theme, when you look at these shallow dish bowl type lakes and you're finding walleyes in say 4, 5, 6 feet of water, a lot of times these fish are aggressive. And so yeah, you can use tip ups, you can use dead sticks and set lines and catch fish. But more often than not, it seems like you have to aggressively jig to catch these fish. These fish are aggressive. And the other thing is a lot of times this water is dingy. And so you definitely have to fish aggressively so these fish can see it and find it, because fish could be cruising by 5, 10, 15 feet away. And if you fish too passively, those fish just can't find you. And so those fish are looking for a meal. So don't be afraid to use bright colors, obnoxious colors. Sometimes you can use a little bit larger lures than what you might use in some other bodies of water, and really pound that lure hard. I mean, get those fish to feel it and see it from a long ways. And so loud baits, rattle baits, baits that are bright, baits that move water and displace water, a lot of times that's a key for these shallow walleyes.
Jason Mitchell Outdoors is brought to you by these industry leaders.
Attention, ice anglers. If you or a loved one have suffered from catching complications, looming boredom, or overwhelming humiliation among your peers, call the Vexlar Group today. If you fish blind like a frozen zombie, you may be eligible to catch fish this year. If you've ever found yourself saying, it's just nice to be out, you may be a struggling angler, and we know you're hurting. Please help stop this angling epidemic today by visiting www.vexlar.com. My name is Sam Sobey, and I approve this message.
Introducing the Rise Float Suit with motion float technology. Breathable, waterproof, secure, and all the features that make the difference. Waterproof cell phone pocket, rapid drain system, and maximum flexibility. Fish with security in the Rise Float Suit from Ice Armor by Clam. Rise above. Clam Outdoors. Pursue the ice.
If these walls could talk, you'd hear stories. And all of them get better every time they're told. Because you've got 40-inch gators out there, giant Lakers, crappies, sunnies, and walleye. So many walleye. Get ready, because soon we'll be walking on water. SCHEELS.
Woohoo! Yeah, what's my favorite series of hubs? The Clam C Series shelters work best for us.
Hey, what's our favorite ice sub shelter? The X Series from Clam Outdoors.
Yeah. Choose the hub shelter that's right for you at Clam Outdoors. Pursue the ice.
Oh, missed him. Come on. Still there. Oh, there he is. There we go. Got our minnows in a bait puck. All we're using is just the head on the treble hook. Pretty simple. And one thing about this shallow water too is you're gonna lose a lot of fish at the bottom of the ice, especially when you get more ice. And on your tackle, doesn't hurt to upsize the treble hooks. You're just going right through the top of the skull. Delicious. Oh, there he is. Transducer out of the water. Oh yeah, look at this. They're kind of hard to navigate. You don't get much ice. Ooh, look at the belly. That is just gorgeous. Oh, that fish shot up, I don't know, maybe 2 feet up off the bottom, which when you don't have very much ice, probably what, 3 feet below my boots. I tell you, we're catching all kinds of fish to eat. That fish there, we're gonna let that one go. There she goes. So when you're fishing 4 to 6 feet of water, you're gonna have some fish that just surprise you, you know, and some of it's just the way these fish come in fast. Your cone angle is gonna be really small. And so even with a 19-degree transducer, you're only looking at about 1/3 of the bottom. So in 6 feet of water, you're looking at, you know, an area this big, you know, 2 feet at the most. And so a lot of times you don't see fish until they get right up on top of you. And so a lot of times what we'll do is you can use your low power mode just to make your lure as weak of a signal as possible, and just to try to create a little bit of gap between your lure and the bottom, and if that gap fills in, that's a fish. Couple of things, especially when you get more ice, drill your holes as straight down as possible and keep that transducer as high as possible. But a lot of times, I mean, you'll be pounding that lure and all of a sudden you'll see that bottom, just this big red mark will just shoot up, and about the time, before you even get a chance to think, it's just some of the hardest strikes you're ever gonna feel from a walleye. See how much line we've got out. Get a fish, I don't even have to reel it. And what I'm doing here, I'll show you here, I'm using braided line. What I like about braid, you can be a lot tougher with it. You can just take your glove and then clean the ice off. Got 8 to 10 pound braid, small barrel swivel, and I've got 14-pound fluorocarbon on that bottom. Then I've got a snap that connects the lure. And typically on, you know, walleye lures like this, you don't have to worry about using a snap. I mean, the fish don't care. I like to use that swivel though above the lure, just to take out a lot of the spin. In the fluorocarbon, I don't think up here you'd need it from a fish standpoint. As far as fish seeing your line, I don't think it really matters. Like, there are quite a few pike up here too. And so what I do find is, you know, use that heavier fluorocarbon, you know, 12, 14 pound, even 10 pound fluorocarbon. It'll just make your presentation a little bit more pike proof when you get pike on. There we go.
Perfect eater. It's the size this lake is absolutely filled with. Get some nice fish in that low to mid 20s as well, but this is what people come to this lake for. You can build yourself a nice meal of fish. Early season ice is the same exact bite you dealt with in that fall period. These fish are looking to stock up, eat big, eat a lot. There we go. Right on cue. Like I was saying, I like to use big spoons here. I got a 1/4 ounce. Big gliding lures, new clam Tico minnow will be a good one. That late fall bite, when these fish are looking to put on the feed bag for winter, the only difference between that late fall bite and this early ice period is 6 inches of ice on top of the surface. These fish are still looking to feed heavy and they're looking to feed aggressive. So you got to match that energy. Put a big bait in front of them. Let the fish tell you to dial it back if you need to, but always start aggressive.
So, you know, Jadyn, he works at the SCHEELS down in Fargo, and just a tremendous angler, you know, really an astute angler, spends a lot of time fishing, really passionate about it. You know, just one of those people that just eats, breathes, and sleeps fishing. And I can remember, you know, Jadyn, when he was just this younger kid and going into the bait shop in the morning at Woodland Resort, I meet this bright-eyed kid that just talked my ear off. And, you know, a couple years later, I run into him, you know, he's, you know, trying to sell me a fishing rod at SCHEELS, you know, so it's been fun to watch this kid that had all this enthusiasm and energy, you know, make his own career in the fishing industry.
Come on, come on. There we go. Another prairie butterball. You gotta love it. We're getting this low light period now. Starting to have some bigger fish start to show up.
And so if there's one challenge, you know, when you look at these shallow lakes, you know, north of Highway 2, early ice, is that some years we get a lot of wind where it'll really churn up the water. And so some years you come out on this ice and you drill a hole and, you know, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches of ice, you can't see the bottom of the ice. From my experiences, if you get that really, really dirty water, it just shuts the fishing down. If you have over a foot of visibility at early ice, typically the fishing is pretty good. And so that's the number one variable, the number one factor can determine whether the fishing's good or not, or just the water visibility. But because this water does have some stain, you know, typically you're going to catch fish through the day, which might seem kind of weird catching walleyes in 4 or 5 feet of water at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But a lot of times your mornings and evenings are going to be best. You can catch fish into dark, but typically it's not an overnight after dark bite. And so typically, you know, you can catch fish during the day within an hour of sunset, sunrise, and that's your prime times. You know, just definitely a neat ecosystem where you can catch these shallow fish. You don't have to stay up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning.